what people seem to love about Sanderson these days, and something that I'm against, is the Sanderlanche. How do you feel about Sanderlanche plotting? Because I personally detest it.
Oh, okay. Hello, welcome to the Reverend and the Retcon. I'm the Reverend.
And I'm the Redcon.
We are two nerdy Christians who love talking about sci-fi and fantasy and good storytelling. So we made a podcast about it.
This week we're going to be talking about the one, the only Brandon Sanderson. His works, his theology, how that kind of makes itself known in his books, and our general feelings about the man and his writing. Levi, we've said in a former video that you've read a lot of the Cosmere, more so than myself, though I've dabbled in it myself for sure. How do we feel about Brandon Sanderson?
Love Brandon Sanderson. Really is the first fantasy that I got into outside of Lord of the Rings. I used to be I read Lord of the Rings every single year. Guys, that was really the only fantasy I was reading, and Sanderson opened the world to new possibilities. Everyone told me that you have to start with Mistborn, and I read the like what Mistborn is about, the back cover, and went, I don't know. And then I read the back cover for The Way of Kings, the Stormlight archive, and dove headfirst into that and read it nonstop through 3 books, and then halfway through book 4 before I ran into a wall of I've just been reading and reading. Those books are huge.
Yeah, they are big.
So I took a little hiatus, but then book 5 was going to be coming out, so I went back into it, finished book 4, and then I heard that book 5 would have a bunch of stuff from other Cosmere books, so I read all of the side projects for Stormlight. I read Mistborn Era 1, haven't read Mistborn Era 2. I read Warbreaker. So not all of it. It's probably even a little over half. There's so much Cosmere. But
Yeah, which is why I've kind of refused to dabble into the Cosmere, because I don't know. I hate being told I have to read something. I want to do my own thing. I can't get so bogged down in one thing. I found Sanderson. I think Way of Kings and Words of Radiance were the only two Stormlight out when I first discovered him in like 2015 or something like that, 2018, somewhere around there. And kind of found those just through like a web Reddit post or whatever, looking for fantasy novels to read. And that's what everybody was suggesting back in the day, was you got to read Way of Kings. So I started there. I'd never even heard of Sanderson or Mistborn or any of the other ones. I just picked up Way of Kings and read those 2 that were out in very quick succession and loved it. And then, had to wait not very long, because Sanderson, we know, is very prolific and writes multiple books a year. But it was like a year between each release or whatever for the remaining 3 of the Cosmere. Truth was a longer wait, I think. That one we had to wait a little bit. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Like I said, all 4 were out when I started,
yeah. But yeah, big fan. I've read those 5 of the Stormlight archive, and then I've read the Skyward series, most of that. As I've said, I'm a bigger sci-fi fan, and that's kind of his one sci-fi series that's out at the moment, at least, I think. And then I've also read Tress of the Emerald Sea from his secret projects. That was the only secret project I read. The others just didn't appeal to me that much. And also, like, I'm not into the Cosmere, so I didn't feel like the obligation to read the others that were Cosmere. But I do enjoy Sanderson. I do love reading his books, and I think he is undoubtedly one of the best fantasy writers of the modern era. Yeah. Though, he has his issues like every writer does, and we'll get into some of that later in the video, I think. But we'll start out with some of the more positive stuff, like what are the things we really like about Sanderson's writing?
Yeah. I think that Sanderson is someone who's putting out so much content that you, I think I really love Sanderson. I just overdo it, and I'm only hearing him for so long, and I start to get sick of it. And then right now I'm even kind of in a little bit of a slump with Sanderson, but almost fully I believe I will read the rest of the Cosmere. I don't think I'm done. I'm not giving up. Eventually, Alloy of Law and the second Mistborn series I'll read, and I have Arcanum Unbounded even in my in my TBR. Um, my favorite thing about Sanderson is that he's not grimdark.
That's a good perspective.
So was told many times to read Game of Thrones or read the Song of Ice and Fire, watch Game of Thrones, and first of all, there's so much immoral things in that series that it didn't feel right to watch. I did try watching it. Um, but even if that wasn't the case, it's so dark. Like if there wasn't any of the nudity and everything else, I still don't know if I would really be into it because it's just so bleak. And Sanderson writes there's hard things that happen, certainly, dark things that happen, but it's a hopeful universe. He writes hopeful novels, and I think that's probably my favorite thing about Sanderson. What do you think that Sanderson does? What do you think he does better than anybody else? Or what is his your top favorite thing about him?
Yeah, that's a great question. Man, I would have to say I think his world building is some of the best. I think thinking of Roshar specifically from Stormlight Archive, it's one of the few books in the fantasy genre I've read where this planet feels like a planet. You know, even Lord of the Rings Middle Earth feels more like a continent than it does a planet. And I think that's so many fantasy series is where we can have a good continent
Mm-hmm.
structure, but not so much as the planet feel with multiple cultures and politics and biology, even like the life on Roshar feels different, feels foreign. And he gets that too with Tress of the Intermold Sea and then his Skyward series as well. Game of Thrones, I think, is another one that does feel like a continent or a planet. There's so much going on in Game of Thrones, and then it also indicates there's more to the world we don't even know yet. But I do agree with you; those books are very dark. The books more so even than the TV show, because the TV show, I think they tried to create some plot lines to bring a little more light into the show than exists even in the books. Whereas in the books, like even Jon Snow is like a character who's super dark and threatening to like murder a baby, whether or not he meant he would do that or not. So the darkness there is it is bleak. Whereas you're right, Sanderson keeps it more levity.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Westeros really feels very medieval. Whereas Roshar, some of it feels pretty medieval, but there's also dynamics to it that are just totally creative on a different level. Like women having to cover their left hand?
It's one of them. I couldn't tell you.
One of their
Probably
hands.
left. Most people are right-handed.
Yeah, and things like that. That it's like, and then you see that being an influence on their characters and who can read and who can write. I actually, for
eating
a Sanderson
spicy food.
Yeah, I got a bookmark for a Sanderson fan. If you can read this, you're not a good Warren man.
That's good. That's good. But yeah, he nails that culture and that world building aspect to make it feel like you're on a different world. And I think that's the case throughout the Cosmere. Like, so many strange things happen in Sanderson books that are very foreign, that he nails a lot of times, kind of the whimsy. I think Sanderson is more of a whimsical writer, to go with that levity you're talking about. He nails that, I think, most of the time, but some of the times it gets to be a bit much. Thinking of Tress specifically, which Tress is meant to be a whimsical book, so I think that's fair. It's meant to be like your Princess Bride type book, but we can get more into that in the negatives. Any other big positives you feel?
His ethics and morality, it kind of is the same thing as with it's not grimdark, but in a more of a positive sense, the value that he has for human life. We had one commenter, Joe Souza, on our last video, quote from The Way of Kings, and absolutely a powerful ethical statement. He quotes, "What is a man's life worth?" Dalinar asks softly. "The slave masters say one is worth about 2 emerald bromes," Kaladin said, frowning. "And what do you say?" "A life is priceless," he said immediately, quoting his father. Dalinar smiled, wrinkled lines extending from the corners of his eyes. Coincidentally, that is the exact same value as, spoiler, close your ears, a shard blade. So today, you and your men sacrificed to buy me 2,600 priceless lives, and all I had to repay you with was a single priceless sword. I call that a bargain. That value for human life and just the way that he expresses that value is really powerful. He explores ideas of honor and integrity, optimism. We've already talked about that a little bit, but the characters that I think he writes best are somewhat the optimistic characters, and even the ones that fail in their optimism and then their optimism somewhat returns, and how they move from despair into positivity. And generally, just he explores great themes. One of the themes he explores is oaths. Like, is it the letter of your promise, or is it the general idea of your promise? Is it the heart or the letter? Uh, Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. He's constantly exploring that, people being willing to die for their friends. That's a very biblical concept. And even in some cases, willing to lay down your life for a potential enemy. That the first 2 Stormlight books really center around that, a potential enemy in the first one and a known enemy in the second one, and the option of, am I just going to let them die, or am I going to do what I can to preserve their life, because their life is valuable. While we were God's enemies, he sent his son, who died on a cross for us while we were his enemies. And so Sanderson's working around with all those different ideas, and those are valuable moral themes. Also, maybe a little bit more just generally, I think he handles trauma, um, upbringing, disabilities, and he maybe doesn't handle those all perfectly, but he addresses them and weaves them into his storytelling, and declares pretty often that those things don't define those characters completely.
Yeah.
So
there's also the nature of second chances, I think, through all of at least the Stormlight books. I'm not sure about the broader Cosmere, but it's no secret that Brandon Sanderson is a Mormon. So there is at least themes that feel Christian as you read it. Not, I don't know. There's a delineation between Mormonism and Christianity. So we have to say, what I'm reading is rooted in the Bible to some extent. So it is similar themes. It's just, where do you take that from there? But we can enjoy those Christian things as we read them, the honorableness, the second chances, the self-sacrifice that is prevalent throughout these books are, great to read from a Christian perspective. And that this is the most mainstream fantasy author that we have is a really cool thing.
Right.
It's kind of then the question of where's that going, but we can get into that a little later as well, unless you want to dive in now.
I don't want to dive in fully, but I do want to clarify one thing for someone who's watching that is maybe concerned somewhat about political correctness. They prefer to be called Latter-day Saints now. And the reason why I'm really okay with foregoing that and calling them Mormons as they used to be known is because of the fact that the angel that they claim gave them this new theology and this new version of Christianity was called Mormon. And that is where they claim their theology comes from. And it says in Galatians 1, even if we or an angel from heaven should preach to you a gospel contrary to the one we preach to you, let him be accursed. So I am not going to start calling them Latter-day Saints, because the claim in Latter-day Saints is, at the end of days, we are the special saints. We are the special kingdom, the special select of this era. And I reject that idea. No, they're not. They follow the false teachings and the false gospel of Joseph Smith's claimed angel. I'm not saying that there actually was an angel, but even if there was some type of angelic being that came and talked to Joseph Smith, he preached the gospel contrary to the gospel that had been given. So he's to be accursed. So
I think
let's
it's
keep on calling them
fair.
Mormons.
I do. I think it's fair to dive into Mormon theology a little bit here, maybe even separate from Sanderson. What is the Mormon theology of Christ, if you know? What is the Mormon gospel?
So, that's where it gets a little harder. The Mormon gospel, that's a bigger question. Like, what is the good news of Mormonism? Well, that we can all become God, and we've all been created, and Christ was the highest created being, not God, but the highest created being, and gave us the example of how self-sacrifice and how we act in life can lead us to divinity as a on-world example of that. So it's very almost liberal theology in some ways, with they think you married Mary Magdalene, and there's some question about like him. There's lots of questions, and I'm not a extreme expert on Mormon theology.
No, I don't mean to put you on the spot either.
No, it's
I just
okay.
think it's helpful I want to be clear, we're not picking on Brandon Sanderson for being Mormon or Latter-day Saint or whatever it is, because we've established we love him. We're big fans of him. I also love, what he's done for the writing community, putting his lecture series out there on the internet for free on YouTube, his podcasts where he goes into a lot of these things, his open discussions he's had with publishers are all very cool. I like him as a person as well. And I enjoy that there is this intermixing a little bit of Christian and Latter-day Saint Mormon theology that we can enjoy in these books. I just think it's helpful for us as Christians. I don't have a lot of knowledge about the faith that he holds, so I wanted to get that in there for anybody else who's in that same kind of boat as me.
Yeah, and one thing I would say about it is one of the reasons that we might view it as concerning as opposed to other authors who aren't Christian. Like, okay, we've already talked about Andy Weir. He's not a Christian author. Well, we talked about Star Wars. That's not from a Christian organization. We talked about Christian themes in that. Um, those somewhat are easier to digest and figure out because they don't claim to be Christian. That's where Sanderson, there is a greater danger with someone like Sanderson. With Andy Weir, you know that you're not getting a Christian message. With Brandon Sanderson, there is enough mixed in that it can be more dangerous. This is a cult versus a completely unrelated religion. Like, even if there was a Muslim author or a Jewish author or a Buddhist author there would be concerns with those. But I think there's almost a even like higher level of concern in that Sanderson's belief system is from a church that is taking Christianity and saying, go astray. Christians go astray to this other version of Christianity. And so there is an elevated danger there that we need to beware of. But also, in many ways, he's the same as reading any other author that's not a Christian. You know, there's going to be good stuff, there's going to be bad stuff. I just think it is worth noting. Sanderson's not Christian, but
Which
we can talk more specifically about that later. But,
yeah, we can get into it, I think, now too. Like,
sure.
one of the, I think, is a plus of Sanderson is his character growth and the character arcs and the second chances that we're talking about, taking somebody who's broken, who's experienced some kind of trauma, be it, PTSD like we see in Kaladin, or just intense psychological trauma like we have in Shallan. Taking those broken people and rebuilding them. And I think that's a core Christian doctrine is, second chances. We experience Christ, we come to believe in Christ, and we have this rebirth and this growth towards becoming like Christ. I think we see Sanderson kind of building those same things, but maybe in a more Mormon perspective. Do you want to dive into that?
Yeah. Well, in Mormon theology, the goal of life is to become God. So God in Christian theology is eternal, uncreated, immutable. That means he is all powerful. No, he's all knowing. No, that's omniscient. Oh, he can't be stopped. So omnipotent, perfectly holy. Like, God is all of these things, and he's the one who creates time, space, matter. Without him, there is nothing. He is the uncaused cause. In Mormon theology, they don't really have a good idea of what the uncaused cause is. God is just someone who lived on some other God's universe and was good enough to inherit his own universe. And this is the universe that God created, and we as beings in that universe have the same opportunity to elevate ourselves to deity, to elevate ourselves to being God. And Sanderson, most of his characters that are his main characters end up being God or some type of God.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I didn't realize, before we started prepping for this video, just how prevalent that is. Like,
yeah,
several of the main characters in Stormlight, we don't have to spoil everything, become or send to God in some way or another. You were saying, I think the same thing might be true for the Mistborn series. And then I told Levi this before we started. I've started the Skyward series, which is the sci-fi series. I've read like the first two books. The third book went in a really weird direction to where I didn't get past like the third chapter of it.
Right.
And so I never read the fourth book, the final. But after our conversation, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if that book ends with her becoming some sort of god, because she kind of has magic powers and stuff and is going through this weird psychological growth journey.
Right.
I should Google it after, and if I'm right, I'm going to put it in the comments or something.
Fair. Well, with that same thing, like we're talking about character growth as a positive thing, and it certainly is. But because he's a Mormon, although his character growth looks similar to it does in lots of other fantasy and other literature, it does carry a little bit of a different connotation because of that, his Mormon theology being the source of it. Because in the Christian faith, we are saved by grace. We're saved by the substitution of Christ, him dying for us. We're saved by regeneration, being awakened to new life, given new birth, from dead to life, heart of stone into flesh. Whereas in Mormon theology, you ascend through personal growth, through self-sacrifice, through honor, through your virtue, and you get better and better and better as you progress. And that, in the Christian walk, we call sanctification. It is, we're saved, and now through the power of the Holy Spirit, we're growing. Whereas in any other world religion, including Mormonism, which is not Christianity, you have to ascend to God rather than God descending to you.
Yeah. And I can't, I don't fault Sanderson for putting his worldview and his ideals in this book either. Like, I'm not bashing him for any of this stuff. Like, I think it's just fascinating to look at through this lens because, I hadn't really seen it before we kind of started researching or getting onto this topic for the podcast. And I think it's natural to put your beliefs and your thoughts into your work.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think, it's so strongly clear once you look for it. But we don't have to dwell on just that if we want to talk about any of the other magic systems or anything else Sanderson has going on for himself.
I would just affirm what you said a little bit too. Everyone's moving their worldview into things that they're creating and putting effort to, whether they're trying to or not. And Sanderson, I don't necessarily think is sitting down writing and going, ooh, I'm going to have a secret Mormon pamphlet in the Stormlight archive. Like, I don't think that's how he's.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to brainwash us by any means.
It's like C.S. Lewis. Christian theology is in every single one of his books. It's an allegory. It's pointing at us to Christianity through fantasy directly. It's boom, boom, boom. That's not what Sanderson's doing. At least if he is, it's at an extreme subtle level. But he's not making a allegory necessarily. I don't think that he's making an allegory for the Mormon faith. I just think that it's pouring out of him, like that he's been brought up in that. That's his worldview. And so when he creates a world, that world emulates some of that upbringing, some of that worldview. So
there was that article that came out a while back, if you remember. I assume you read the Sanderson article that was like bashing him and saying he was trying to live out the Mormon theology of like becoming a god over these worlds while he's still on Earth by writing these books. He was very against that article as well, and I don't think that's what he's doing either.
No,
he's just writing what he knows and what he enjoys, and he might have even planned for there to be strong Mormon themes within these books, but that's okay too. And as Christians, we can still enjoy them. We're not bashing them at all.
No, love them. one of my favorite fantasy authors, and like I said, I plan to continue reading, even though there's so much of it.
So much of it. I was thinking too, like the books. You can see them on the shelf behind me here. They're quite huge. The plotting that Sanderson does throughout these books is decent. He's a good plotter. I think there's a lot of through threads that go through these enormous books, which is impressive as a feat. What people seem to love about Sanderson these days and something that I'm against is the Sanderlanche. How do you feel about Sanderlanche plotting? Because I personally detest it.
Okay.
I think
Hmm.
I think we know the Sanderlanche is a thing. We know it's going to happen, which it's not even Sanderson. It's a lot of fantasy authors these days. It's a lot of authors in general who kind of plot this way where everything's building towards this one event and you're just waiting for this everything to coalesce and to avalanche, Sanderlanche, if you would, into this just giant snowball of plot that just moves you through the last 20% of the book in rapid fashion. I hate this plotting because you're just waiting for it the entire book. Like I'm not even invested in the book that I'm reading because I just know it doesn't matter till I get to the last 20%. Are you a fan? I'm curious.
First, I have a question for you. Out of the 5 Stormlight books, which one has the least amount of Sanderlanche to you?
The first 2 for sure. They're not as bad. You think you disagree with this?
Oh,
the first one has a Sanderlanche. That
yes.
does. I would say the second one is not as bad. There's more action throughout the book. There's more pacing.
Okay. Yeah, and the second one is my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have said Wind and Truth has the least amount of Sanderlanche.
Interesting. You think this? I mean, I could see where you're going from, just the way that one's paced with like the week schedule that's kind of going across, and the events of Kaladin's arc facing these different challengers. I just detest that book as a whole.
I know you do. That's what I was like. The least Sanderlanche book in my brain is the one that you
that's a whole different pacing problem.
Oh yeah. I think that I like the Sanderlanche sometimes and it annoys me an immense amount other times. There are the worst Sanderlanches in my opinion are the second and the third Mistborn books. So you haven't even read those. So now you cannot read them because if you believe me at least. I felt like both of those
I've tried Mistborn so many times and have never been able to get into it.
I feel like nothing happened in both of those. So little happened in both of those books until the last 100 pages. And it's like, if you would have done one chapter and then jumped ahead, that it would have been the same. I remember getting 30 hours into listening to The Way of Kings and being like, I don't even know if I like this. It just is going on, and I kept on expecting Kaladin, spoiler, to become free, and he just wasn't free, and then he was still wasn't free, and then he still was, and I'm just waiting for okay, when is this gonna happen? And it doesn't happen until the Sanderlanche, you know? In that first book. And then when that happened, I remember having the thought in my head, is this better than Lord of the Rings? Because it was so epic. Like I was so into it. So yes, I think it can be overdone, and I think Sanderson has overdone it. And it can be really annoying. But I think it also can be really exciting, and I love the way that plays out in the first book, love the way that plays out in the second book. And my series I love even more, if you remember my fantasy ranking, the Lycanius series, is really one big build up until the last 100 pages of the third book.
I was going to say he's a big Sanderlancher too.
Yeah, in The Will of the Many, that hasn't been my experience. I'm reading The Will of the Many right now, but so I appreciate all the plot threads are all over the place. It's almost like a mystery. How are all these things going to make a satisfying if they feel all disconnected, and then it's like, there it is. So I like it. But
it's maybe my Sanderson hot take, because I'm not a big fan of the Sanderlanche. Another hot take is I skip Shallan's chapters on every subsequent reread. I cannot stand Shallan or her chapters, and I'm just not going to put myself through it. Maybe I'm not that big of a Sanderson fan. I don't know.
What about in Words of Radiance? I feel like her plot in Words of Radiance is great.
That one's better because you have the whole traveling to the what's it called, Shattered Plains, and kind of her being on her own. Don't like the first one as much with her just studying.
Yes. But no, I could see, I haven't reread them. I could see that when you're rereading. But again, when I was reading that first one, I'm 30 hours in and I'm like, the only person I really care about is been a slave this whole time, and it looks like he's just going to continue being a slave. And then there's this random girl over here that it keeps on flashing to, and I'm like, why do I care? Why do I care about this person? And then, Dalinar is interesting, but it didn't connect for me. I just wanted him to get freed. Like so I can totally relate to that. And then when it finally, the puzzle pieces started coming together, and I knew nothing about the magic systems like this. I had no experience with any type of hard magic system. And so I'm not understanding what a spren is and why that's important. And I'm not understanding anything. And so all the reveals, I feel like Sanderson does this so well. He makes reveals happen that I don't expect to happen. But when they happen, I go, oh, of course, that's what was going to happen. I feel like he does that so very well. That the reveal is earned. He put foreshadowing in. It works, but it's not what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Yeah, thinking for sure of like Kaladin's arc in the first one, where you learn that he wins the blade, and then we don't have to spoil everything.
Yeah.
No, it's good stuff. I think, going back to Shallan just a little bit, just so I can get my ranting out.
Angst.
Her her plot is meaningless. There's nothing valuable that happens from a story perspective that is because of Shallan's plot. The Ghost Bloods only exist to give Shallan something to do in the Stormlight archive. They have zero impact on the story as a whole. Even in Wind and Truth, where they're like chasing her through all the visions, it's like they impact nothing. They don't need to be there. It drives me crazy. Think about it. Next time you reread it, think about it, and you'll see it for the truth that it is. Her plot.
But sometimes a character doesn't have to be making a huge impact to be a good character. I mean, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, or in the Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you take him out of that movie, the same stuff happens. But he's a great character.
It's fair, but you're writing entire subplots purely to keep this character in the book.
Yeah, but the Ghost Bloods is coming out. That we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but the Ghost Bloods are coming out, and it's not the end. So maybe that's all stuff that is going to matter a lot in the future. Which that
it could be
brings me to one of the negatives that's not related to like theology or anything else like that. I think that Sanderson is a little bit quantity over quality. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely not read it as much as you have, and I also already share this opinion. I think it's not so much the quantity of it. It is that, he doesn't spend as much time as he should, making sure everything is as good as it could be. He said before in interviews or in his writing series that he's not a big rewriter. He just kind of writes it as it is and does his little work, kind of changing it on the back end as he can. Which, it's a common saying in writing that writing is rewriting. So I question that perspective. Again, he's a master author. Like, I can't judge him for that or say how he's lacking in that. But you kind of feel it as a reader as you work your way through these 5 massive books, and then you come away like, that wasn't, not even that it wasn't what I wanted, because he said in interviews he knows it wasn't what we wanted in the end, but that was the point of it, which is fair. But the thing as a whole leaves you underwhelmed and feeling like there were things that happened almost like a filler episode in an anime. You're like, why is all this on the screen right now? Maybe it'll all come together on the back half, but it sure is a heck of a huge investment to put in to not feel like it's all as rewarding as it could be. So I feel like there is a little bit of a quality issue there. I think there's also there was talk of his editors changed or something within Wind and Truth, and a lot more of that whimsy that I was talking about before kind of made its way into the book than I think we've seen in the Stormlight, particularly before. Whimsy is fine in like a Tress, but I'm not looking for so much whimsy in my Stormlight Archive epic fantasy story,
Yeah.
And
it sure is a lot of reading to get to an unsatisfying conclusion. I think about Mistborn has a very satisfying conclusion. Satisfying enough that I don't really feel I need to get to that next book. When the next Stormlight book comes out, even though I was kind of disappointed with Wind and Truth, not nearly as disappointed as you were, but when that comes out, I'm going to pick that up because I want to find out what happens next and how this all works out. But it is 20 times longer than Mistborn. And his Era 1 Mistborn ends on a satisfying note, and his Era 1 Stormlight doesn't. I'm like, come on, man. I've put more time into reading this series than anything else. And I think that's most people who have read that will be the biggest, and they probably all read Wheel of Time. So, but
which is another one that really kind of lost the thread in the middle, which is why I've never touched that series. I don't know if we've talked about that before. Like, I refuse to read a book series that I've never heard anybody say they actually enjoyed reading.
Right.
Which might be the case with Sanderson's Stormlight by the end of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, I for sure haven't enjoyed myself since the second book. That's not true. I've enjoyed parts of each book.
Yeah. Rank the Stormlight books really quick.
Oh, just really quick. Okay. Yeah. Well, I've already said my top 2 books ever are Words of Radiance and Way of Kings. So those 2. Kind of a hot take would probably be Rhythm of War is my number 3, and then Oathbringer, and then Wind and Truth.
So first, I have a couple questions about your ranking. Okay. One, why Rhythm of War is so high?
I think everybody hated kind of Navani's scenes in that book, but I loved it. I loved the kind of scientific approach, which makes sense with me being a sci-fi fan. I was getting into more of the mathematics of the world, and seeing how this stuff actually works from a scientific perspective, even though he made it all up. It's very cool to read for me. And also I liked getting a more in-depth look at the singer culture as well. It was cool. Even though the main characters are all basically sidelined in that one. Dalinar's barely in the book at all. And then Kaladin's doing weird what's the movie?
Die Hard.
It's Kaladin's dieharding in that one. But you get really cool moments in there too with Teft and Kaladin, and I think it's one of the better of the series for sure.
That one has the worst Sanderlanche, in my opinion. The most, like, I don't care that Shallan and Adolin are trying to get these honor spren. Like, just
really? I love that part of it too.
Get over it. Like, I want them to get them and then move on. That's so what funny. Is Kaladin doing? Why is this not moving forward?
Kaladin's arc is infuriating in that book.
It felt like all of it was like, it's just not moving forward. It's not moving forward. It's not moving forward. I liked how it ended. I liked when it moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
Then that Sanderlanche. But yeah, so that also was I was worn out. I had read straight.
Yeah, I can't imagine him reading back to back like the first
back
time.
to back, like just nonstop listening to them quickly too. It was over. I don't know exactly how long it was, but I remember several people me saying, "Oh yeah, I'm in Rhythm of War," and them being like, "You like started a month or two ago." You know,
yeah.
like that's
every time one of them was
best.
going to come out, I would reread through the series up to that point. I can't imagine doing that for the second series whenever that comes out. What is it, 6 years from now or
I
whatever?
probably will.
I expect I will too.
I haven't ever reread them.
But man, that's a daunting undertaking, rereading all of that. Might have to find a synopsis or something.
So my ranking right now, and I'm curious if I reread. I am. Mine would be Words of Radiance, The Way of Kings, Oathbringer, Wind and Truth, Rhythm of War.
See, Oathbringer to me is the worst in the series. Maybe even, well, Oathbringer and Wind and Truth may be tied for me, but Oathbringer I think is the worst Sanderlanche because it feels like it's hinted at pretty early that this book is going to wrap up in Kolinar. And I just feel like I'm waiting the entire book just for them to get to Kolinar. And it's like such a drag with everything trying to just get there. It's like, come on, let's just maybe it's because I've reread it a few times at this point and I know that's where it goes, that it's just so insufferable to read to get to that point. But yeah, that's my struggle with that one. And then Dalinar's whole flashback sequence in that one isn't telling us anything new per se. Like we get big reveals there, but it didn't tell us anything new about Dalinar's character. We already knew he sucked.
Yeah, but not the level at which he sucked.
not the extent of his suck.
In Sanderson, it is hopeful. The good guys are good guys, and Dalinar was not. And the reveal. This is a spoiler. If you're not wanting,
you're still listening at this point.
But the way it reveals that Dalinar didn't know the depth of how messed up he was.
Yeah.
And that is actually part of the reason that he isn't, as messed up, is because he has figured out a way to forget.
Mm-hmm.
That was masterful, in my opinion. Dalinar is the reason for me why that is my number 3, as opposed to the others. Is I love what it did with Dalinar. And Dalinar is my favorite character in the Stormlight archive, so that plays into that.
Yeah.
Wind and Truth, I want to see what happens next. I did not mind the 10-day plotting like everybody else did.
My thing is, if you're doing that plot, every scene should feel so important. It should feel like we're on the edge of our seats for every scene. This is 24 hours of our 10 days that we have in this book. And it didn't feel like that. It felt just like a drag. Like, what are we doing with this limited time that we have? Why are we, way over here doing whatever we're doing? Why are we experiencing all these visions? That's my problem.
Sure. Fair enough. Yeah, I love the Stormlight is definitely the peak, and I really hope that when all is said and done, we can say it's one of the best fantasy series of all time. We have already said that it's some of the books in that series are some of our favorite of all time, but I hope it ends well. I am a little, we already mentioned quantity over quality. I'm a little concerned with it's not slowing down. I don't think Sanderson is like giving himself reasonable expectations, so to speak, with the adaptations and all the books.
That's fair. There is a whole new thing with this film and TV. I was gonna say he might be giving himself a little bit more wiggle room with letting some of his co-authors take more of the reins on some of the side projects.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I understand it. I'm curious how much he has his hands in those projects, to be able to actually put his name on the books. Like, he does his weekly updates and always says like Jancy is this far on the next Skyward or whatever. And it's like, well, what have you done on this? Like, is it just like one of those things where you provided the plot and told her to take off with it, So I don't love it, especially when he's putting his name on the book for the sales, if he's not actually, that involved in the writing of it. But I like that he's, maybe taking his fingers out of those pots a little bit to focus more on some of the core things he has going on. But then you're right, he did just take on this new TV series and the screenwriting role as well. So it's like, how much of that's getting your time, or how much is if the books we're waiting to read, 6 years to the Voidlight archive is a long time to wait. And
that's what they're calling Era 2 of Stormlight, or at least I think maybe that's what he wanted to call it, but they're not going to let him. I'm not sure exactly. But Stormlight is gone. So it
is interesting.
If it is called Stormlight, then I don't really get it, because Stormlight is gone.
Yeah, so I understand from a publishing perspective not wanting him to change the name of the series. It'll be confusing, but it's cool to do. Yeah. There's definitely projects out there I'm excited for. Horn Eater, for one, I really want to know what happened to Rock, which I think that's going to be his story we should get eventually, which I think is another character who we might see ascend a little bit.
Sure.
And then I don't know how you feel about Fires of December, which is Hoyt's story. Is it Hoyt or Hoyd? I always get it confused.
One of those two.
I personally, this is another Sanderson hot take, I don't care about Hoyd.
Well, you've just read the one series, so
well, he's in Trust. He's in Trust too, but I guess if he has a bigger role across the Cosmere, that's fair.
I think that in some ways he's Stan Lee. Like, he's just showing up everywhere. I would probably not be a huge fan of that either, compared to a lot of Cosmere fans. From what I understand, I am kind of excited when I have read all of it to be able to trace that line of the Easter eggs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and that's cool it's cool that it's there, but I haven't really been that interested so far.
Yeah, I feel like the way I view the Cosmere is probably the way an average person would view like the MCU. Like, there's just too much of it, like too many threads. I'm not going to invest my time in all of that, but I can appreciate it from afar, I suppose. Maybe I'll get to it one day. I just have so much on my reading list and so little time to read.
Are you excited for the adaptations?
Yeah, I'm excited to get to experience Mistborn without having to read it, because I've tried to read it so many times and have not been able to get into it. So
I spoiled it for you too. I don't know if you remember what I said to spoil it, the first book, but I texted you after I'd finished it, because you were the one who told me to read Sanderson. So I just assumed you had read all of Sanderson. So I'm like, I can't believe this just happened. And you're like, thanks.
That's funny. No, it's fine. I don't mind being spoiled. I don't think I'm ever going to read it at this point. I have it on my shelf and my dog tore up half the book. So I'll have to buy a new copy anyway. It's good though. Adaptations. 6 years to the Stormlight finale is crazy. I do feel like a little bit like I question if Brandon Sanderson can stay on top for that long. I feel like we're not the only ones with the critiques that we've kind of brought up here. Like, I think he lost a lot of trust from the fandom with Wind and Truth.
Yeah.
Whether that was fully justified, I don't know. He kind of needs a big comeback book.
Yeah.
And I don't think with any of the things coming up that we're necessarily going to get that. It's just more of the same.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I'm a little bit concerned about with the adaptations is in Stormlight, that final Wind and Truth book, in my opinion, the worst part of it, there was some pandering to more current ideologies and representation and such, and went into detail in some of those things in just really awkward ways, and you could almost tell like he it felt like he was bowing the knee, like, hey, I'll do it, like, people are asking for this, I'm gonna do it, and I'll let this happen. And I'm a little afraid that in the adaptations that they will do what they have done with so many other adaptations, and oh, let's adapt this and make it more correct, more along the lines of Hollywood and the the left and the different ideologies that are associated with that. And I could just see it falling into that pit and being kind of like so many of the shows from Apple and Netflix and Disney and that push those ideologies. And I'm a little concerned about that with the adaptations for sure. But
Yeah,
we'll have to wait
fair.
and see. Yeah. I am curious about Ghost Bloods. That's the next series that he's coming out with, right? Am I right?
I wasn't sure if that was a series or if it's another.
I think it's
book.
Mistborn
I think
Era
you're right
3.
that it is a series. Yeah,
Like it's taking that place of like a Mistborn Era 3, if I'm remembering right. It makes me want to read Mistborn Era 2 so that I can read that when it comes out and understand it. But I don't know much more about the Ghost Bloods than from Stormlight, and now you're kind of ruffling my feathers about if they're actually interesting or not. Before I thought they were interesting.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what happens with Sanderson in the next few years. I think he has, all. I think everybody's still with him for the time being. I think he needs to win back some faith. Maybe he can do it with Ghost Bloods and Fires of December. I think he's giving a lot of the hardcore Cosmere fans what they wanted with Fires of December, giving them more of Hoyt's story, which I'll probably read that one. Like, I'm not against it at all. I've heard some of, like, he said his very first book was a lot of Hoyt's story, which sounded cool. So if he's kind of revisiting that, maybe some of the, I haven't heard anything about the synopsis of the book. Maybe I'm completely off base here, but if it's more of the origins of the Cosmere, of like the Dawn Shards or whatever, maybe that's different books I need to read in the Cosmere to get those stories. I don't know, but I'd be curious to get more of the kind of origin of the world, to know more of the background. Maybe I just need to read the Cosmere. Maybe that's the point of this video.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, do you maybe want to do a little bit of a lightning round? Just answer a few questions. What's your favorite Cosmere character?
Adolin.
Cool.
I think he's Dalinar, but better. He has all the honor, but then he has more of the gumption than current Dalinar. Like, he's willing to get things done, to take Sadius in the back alley.
That was an intense moment when that happened. That really shocked me.
Yeah.
Favorite villain?
Taravangian.
Same.
I love Taravangian.
So epic. So epic.
Just making moves. He's a spider in the dark. Nobody can detect him.
No idea. There was none. I had I did not see that coming at all when he turned out to be a villain.
Yeah, so good.
Zero.
And also, oh my goodness, how much we can spoil everything at this point. Killing Braze, taking out. Oh my goodness, that was so good. Like, mind blown. Never saw it happen, and it just like having Zeth there and Sword Nemi, perfect. That was the best Sanderson moment I think of all. It happened in the freaking interlude, didn't it?
I think so.
That's crazy, man.
Don't skip the interludes, as tempting as that might be.
Don't skip the interludes. I didn't get your top Sanderson or Cosmere
Dalinar.
character down. You did say that. That's correct.
I did.
Okay.
Taravangian definitely is my favorite villain.
So
like it's not even really close. How about your favorite magic system?
That was a tough one. I think the Mistborn magic system is really cool, even though I haven't read those books.
Yeah. It is cool.
I feel like Stormlight powers aren't as cool as we want them to be. It's basically like it feels like Power Rangers or something by the time we get to it.
Sure. Okay.
Are we doing Cosmere or Sanderson?
You could just do Sanderson. That's fine.
I'm kind of torn between Tress and Skyward. Skyward, the powers, it's kind of a magic system. It's very like not realistic, but basically you have characters who can like FTL across the galaxy, like just by themselves and stuff, which I think is pretty cool. And then Tress, the whole spore system, I think is cool with these different spores that are coming off these different moons that do different things. I think it's just so cool and intrinsically tied with the world. What do you got for that one?
Warbreaker.
Ooh. So this is where I don't know the Cosmere.
Yeah, Warbreaker is not Warbreaker.
Oh.
It is Warbreaker. Man, Lightbringer popped into my head, and I'm like, that's not
that's Bruce Brown, yeah.
That's Bruce Brown. Yeah, it is Warbreaker. It is it's based on colors and returning and like the breath and
is that the one with the trainer Zahil or whatever his name is? Okay, so that's kind of what he does. So
yes,
does he do that in Stormlight? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I read it after I read that section, so I haven't necessarily put all the things together. But it is the one that Sword Nimi makes its appearance in.
That one does tempt me to read more than any of the other Cosmere books. So I think
that was my least favorite part of that book. I didn't really care too much about that. The characters in there are epic. I really love Ciri. I really love Lightsong. Lightsong is probably my second favorite character in the Cosmere. He's this kind of god, quote unquote, that can't figure out if he should really be a god and is like miserable. Cool. Like he's miserable and is kind of questioning why he even exists.
I'll add it to the reading list.
All right. What is your so that your favorite magic system? What is your favorite fight scene?
Probably Adolin and Kaladin in the pit. I think that takes a good one. Cake. There's so many good ones though.
There is.
That's the one that always stands out to me. But there are definitely a lot of competition. What do you got?
Bridge 4 charging in to save Dalinar.
See, did the series peak in the first two books?
So epic. So epic. What is maybe your best emotional moment? That's maybe a harder question than a lot of them. But like, what is was there a moment that was like, wow?
I think it's Tef's. What is it? Third ideal, fourth ideal, where he's I was. What is it? Save the one I hate, even if the one I hate the most is myself. I think that's just such a powerful, like ethic that I think a lot of people need. You know, I think Lopin's is also cool if you haven't read his little side book. But I think that was one of like the most emotional moments in the Stormlight for me.
Sure.
What do you think?
Kaladin coming to the second ideal when he's estranged from his friend. It's been too long.
Syl.
Thank you. I had Ciri in my brain, and I'm like, it's not Ciri. When he's estranged from Syl, and then he finally decides to defend even the ones that
that the second ideal? Like,
Yeah.
second ideals are the best, man.
Yeah.
That ideal really kind of turned the series on its head. I think it made it such cool, like them having to do, something that's so against their core beliefs is so perfect.
And for me, that was, that's what shard blades are. Like, that reveal got me completely. I had no idea, but then it made sense, perfect sense once it happened. Then it was like all the pieces have come together. Oh, this is what a shard blade is. Like, good stuff. Out of all the characters, it might be the same that's your favorite. Out of all the characters, who would you most want to have dinner with?
Oh man, you go first. I need to think on this one.
I think it's probably Hoyd. Like, I think.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to have dinner with Adolin because he's kind of a prick. Like, I could enjoy his prickiness on screen, but yeah, I was thinking Dalinar is up there. Oh, you know who it'd be? It would be freaking, what's his name? The author of The Way of Kings.
Oh.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
I wish I knew his name, but the book that Sanderson wrote within that book is so cool. Yeah. I wish we had that as a book to read, like as a companion piece, because I would love that, because the stories he's come up with within there are so cool. I wish I remembered his name though, but it would be that guy, King, whatever it was.
Right. No, that's funny. That is a great pick. I love that. Noadon.
There you go. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. That's a good pick. Hoyd for me. Who's the character you would least want to meet?
Shallan.
100. Which one would you be meeting?
No hesitation. Yeah.
I take a much more positive look on it, Shallan. I like Shallan. I think she's one of the most interesting female characters I've ever read. And people will say, I heard someone say that Vin from Mistborn and Shallan are like the same. Brandon Sanderson just writes all of his females the same, and I'm like, have you read Shallan? Like, she is the weirdest character that I've ever read. I never really know what's going on in Shallan's head. Like,
as much as I don't like Shallan, I do really like Shallan and Adolin's romance. Like, I think they work together really as well. And like, I thought going into like Words of Radiance, he kind of hinted at a potential Shallan Kaladin romance, and I'm so glad he didn't go that route, because Shallan and Adolin just turned out to be so perfect for each other in the weirdest way that just feels so natural, and I really like it.
Yeah. So in summary, we really love Brandon Sanderson. Yes, there is some concern with his Mormon theology. We're supposed to be like Christ. We're not supposed to want to be Christ himself. And ultimately, I'm excited to see what he does next. Yes, I have concerns. I think like all of his fans do, but I think both of us are excited overall.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This has been the Reverend and the Retcon. Thank you so much for joining us.
If you like what you see, give us a like and subscribe and recommend us to your friends. See you next time.